I have the awesome Terry Dunn Meurer on with me today to talk about one of our all-time favorite shows and the new documentary coming out about said show, Unsolved Mysteries. I want you to know how excited everyone was when I told them I was going to be talking to one of the creators of Unsolved Mysteries.
Thank you for the interest. We love it. I could talk all day about Unsolved Mysteries. It's been such a big part of my life.
Jumping right in, what drew you to start telling these really weird stories?
I've been a mystery fan from the time I was very young. I just absorbed every Nancy Drew book I possibly could, and then graduated into Agatha Christie. And so it's interesting that I didn't intentionally set out to have mysteries become my life and my career, but it did happen, and I feel so lucky to take that passion and be able to put it into a series. Just one thing led to another. I was doing an HBO documentary about missing children. I did missing adults, and one of the missing adults found someone. Then we did 3 specials about missing children and missing adults, and those found some of those people. And then we were working with NBC, and they said, let's see if we can broaden this out. And so we created more categories. And honestly, I think that's one of the reasons the show has been so successful, is because it's a whole gamut of mysteries. It's not just one type of crime or type of mystery, but we think the audience really liked the variety of the cases.
My younger sister watches it, and she's like, they're just so fun and fascinating. And when I was watching the documentary today, they were like, it's the music that gets you. And I'm like, yeah, when I hear that music, I immediately get like a chill going down my spine. Oh man.
Everyone says that and Robert Stack's voice, the combination of those two things, people are like, it must be flashbacks from their childhood or something like that when they were growing up with it, because a lot of people say, oh yeah, I used to sneak that show. My parents didn't let me watch it, but I used to sneak it. So you figure they were pretty young and impressionable.
Yeah. And how awesome is it that, I mean, the show's I guess technically never been off the air, and as long as it's been going on, but it's changed networks. That's a pretty long-standing running TV show. What does it feel to be a part of something like that?
It's amazing. It's amazing. And that's one of the biggest unsolved mysteries I think that we have in relation to the show, is just the repeatability, that people just keep coming back. The production value was good. I think the storytelling was good. But I think it's the fact that some of the cases are still unsolved, or they come back to see if any of them have been updated, because we update the cases all these years, 35 years, we've updated the cases, whether they were in syndication or with a card at the end of the episode. So they might come back because they want to see if a case is solved. But it was so much fun putting the documentary together, because it reminded me of how much production value there were. Explosions and casts of thousands and horses, animals. It was crazy. And there's so many stories that we couldn't, fit into the hour. If you talk to another group of directors and producers, they would have a whole different group of different stories about their experiences, because 1,300 segments, stories. And out of those, there's going to be some behind the scenes stories for sure.
Yeah, the behind the scenes in the documentary was what really got me. The one about the church and the guy who put too much dynamite in the church.
I was watching, just going, oh my gosh, no one got hurt. Out of 1,300 stories, no one got hurt. And there were some pretty serious, significant stunts. That was one of them. They put up these, they put up these kind of barriers. And luckily they did, because the debris was just flying.
There a certain story that, I mean, after 35 years of doing it, that has just, so I think there's a couple that you talk about in the documentary, but is there another one that you just sit and you're like, man, I really wish that we could solve this, or something like that?
Oh gosh, I wish we could solve all of them. There's not one that I can really point out, but there were surprises along the way. I think cases that got solved even before they went to air, those were always exciting, because there was one case where this guy was a wanted fugitive, and NBC did a promo for the show, and his face was in the promo. and he got arrested before the show aired. There are a lot of cases that got solved that never made the show. Some of our researchers would solve cases. They would make some calls, and especially on the lost love cases, not the fugitive cases, and they would reunite two people. We never told those stories. Or law enforcement, if they knew we were coming to town to do a story, they would go, oh, we better make sure we did our due diligence here, and they would solve the case before we got there.
Yeah.
So the other thing about the series, I like to think that it was a deterrent to crime. I don't true. There's no statistics about that, but there's a lot of people back then. Oh, I don't want to end up on Unsolved Mysteries. Maybe I won't rob that bank or something. I don't know. That's always something that's been in the back of my mind.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of people are like, I don't want to end up like someone on Criminal Minds or Unsolved Mysteries. It's just those crime shows that stick in your head. You're like, I don't want to be a statistic.
Right.
So what, I know it's a lot, but which story is your all-time favorite?
I need to do a better job being able to answer this question. The one I mentioned, Mom's Genetic Curse. Oh, that was the title of the episode that I talk about in the documentary. That one, I think that again, maybe the category of story is a better way to answer that, because the cases that we call final appeal cases, where somebody's wrongly imprisoned, those, and we had a hand in getting them released and their conviction overturned, like Patty Stallings. That category of story was really important to me, because those people are alive and they're in prison and they didn't do what they've been accused of. And it was almost like saving lives. And that that category of story felt great. Or getting a wanted fugitive off the streets so that they wouldn't kill again. That was really gratifying. But so all of those stories in those categories would probably be the best. It's too hard to single one out of 1,300. I like the small town stories, because those are the ones that didn't get enough publicity, that need that publicity, that nationwide publicity. The ones that where a fugitive was found, because we were international, where they were found. There was one that was found in American Samoa. Wow, that demonstrates the reach of the show. So there's just so many aspects to it that producing the whole series has been so gratifying, and we're so proud of what the fans have done. Yeah, I talk about that in the documentary too.
Since the show's been going on for so long, and it's seen the growth of the internet and social media and all of that stuff, how is it more helpful now with the internet and social media, or is it like a catch-22? We're like, yeah, it helps, but it doesn't at the same time.
I think the social media gives the viewers a chance to talk about the stories, because when they were aired back in the day, you go to work, you can talk to your family, your friends, but now there's this big forum where people can talk about them. There's armchair detectives out there who really dive in and have helped solve cases. There's some who have been gone in the other direction and maybe targeted a suspect who wasn't really a suspect, and that's affected their lives. So that's not awesome. But yeah, social media it's changed it so much. It's easier to find stories and to research stories now. Before, we had the clipping service and cold calls. Now everything happens faster now.
Yeah, when I was watching the documentary and you guys were talking about like the clipping service and like all this, I was like, people used to get paid to just cut out police stories and send them into Unsolved Mysteries.
I know. And there was no GPS. There was no cell phones.
Yeah.
Was so much harder. You had to find a payphone if you wanted to call the office about something that was going on. It's just so much easier and so much faster now.
Yeah, when I was watching the documentary, I was like, the show has come such a long way in such a long time, and it's great that it's stayed on and people are still watching it. I know a lot of people I know were like, Unsolved Mysteries is on Netflix now, so we can watch it on Netflix. And I was like, oh well.
We used to shoot film. When we started, we were shooting 16mm film. Video didn't exist, and we were cutting on film. It was a whole different the whole process was completely different.
Yeah. What was it like for you to see that shift? Like, you're going from literally filming and cutting the film to now everything's digital, and was that kind of a hard transition for you guys to go through?
we really liked the way the film looked, the show looked on film.
Mhm.
And when it went to video now, there's so many ways to make video look like film that I guess we're used to the show being shot on video, but we were film diehards. We were, we were holding on to our film look because we just felt like it was just a better look for the show, especially the reenactments. It's one thing to do the interviews on tape, but reenactments, you wanted them to feel like a little film. And
Mhm.
the film look is just better for that. But I think, yeah, we gave it up. We're on tape.
Reluctantly.
Everything, yeah, it's the advances are still being made.
I know that most of the stories are pretty serious. Some of them, they probably make you chuckle a little bit just because of the overacting or underacting in some of the sequences and stuff like that. Was there maybe one that you thought was just it was just fun to shoot?
Oh gosh, I wasn't out on location for all of them when we started the series because I was back. John and I were back at the office. Fun. I guess we'd be in the editing room because that's where we spend a lot of time, and
Yeah.
just rolling our eyes, going, "Oh no." Because as the documentary says, small towns, sometimes you don't have the best acting. So what we would do is if the acting wasn't as good as we would like it to be, we would just put the voiceover over it and not put it up for dialogue. So you wouldn't hear people talk, you would see them talk, hear them talk. So we had our fixes for how to do that. No, there were a lot of chuckles in the editing room. That's
Yeah.
really laughed. We because that's when we're seeing what the directors did what they brought back.
Yeah.
And trying to make it work. They didn't get this shot, they didn't get that shot, but it all came together. And then we had Bob Stack. So if
Mhm.
we really needed to fill a hole, we could just write some copy for Bob and he would help us out of a bind that way.
Oh yeah. Robert Stack's is such an icon. And he did the show for a really long time.
Oh yeah.
How did that you probably touch on it in the documentary, but how did that come about? Like how did you get Robert Stack to be like, I'm gonna be your voice?
Raymond Burr did the first show. No, how many? I have to remember. So it was Raymond Burr and Carl Malden, and then they didn't want to do it anymore. It was a financial issue, and so we just started. We put a list together of people who we thought could do it, and reached out to Bob. I still remember this. Funny, I still remember my mom saying, "What about Robert Stack?" Saying that because I said, "Oh, we're looking for a host for the show." And somehow I feel like my mom might be responsible. Robert Stack. I've never told Bob that, but he just really loved it. It's the Elliot Ness connection. He really got involved, as we talk about in the stories. He loved the show. He was as passionate as we were about it. So he wanted to do it. He wanted to do it forever. And he did. He did.
Yeah. That's that's real commitment there because a lot of shows they go through so many hosts and things like that because the host just I want to move on to do something. And Robert Stack was like, this is my bread and butter. He had to have loved it.
He did. He did. And if there
Yeah.
was anything he wanted to do in between, and we worked the schedule around that so that he could do it. We were as flexible as we could be. And if we had an update that because the story just got solved and we needed to get it into the next show, he was there to do the voice, whether it was narration or stand up. We had a whole post shoot team that found the locations, worked with Bob, worked on board with the whole that was it on its own unit. We had an update unit that would go out and do the updates, and then the directors that would do the actual episodes. And big, there are hundreds of people, I don't know how many, who have worked on Unsolved Mysteries because we would pick up crew in small town too, in the small towns, pick up crew along the way. I don't know, there's got to be over 1,000 people who worked on Unsolved over the years.
It's called Unsolved Mysteries, but you've solved a few just by the help of fans and things like that. What is that feeling like when you know that your show has helped bring closure to a family or bring someone home from something? What is that? Is it just the best feeling in the world?
It really is to give these families closure because there's still a lot of the cases that are unsolved, and you just wish that you could help every family. There's so many cases we couldn't do because we had hundreds, thousands of submissions.
Yeah.
And that was always hard. But yeah, that we would get so excited when a case was solved. We still do when we hear, even if we aren't responsible for the solve, it wasn't an Unsolved Mysteries viewer, but yeah, no, still It's still very exciting. It's a very unique television experience, I think, the experience that we had working on Unsolved Mysteries. Because
Yeah.
really accomplishing something, as
Yeah.
opposed to just entertainment is wonderful, of course, but you're accomplishing something. It's always felt really good. We produced a
Yeah.
lot of other shows, other reality shows and TV movies and things, but nothing has been as gratifying as Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah. I bet. Terry, that's all the time that I have with you. Thank you so much for talking with me. I'm so excited. But I loved the documentary, and I will be telling all of my Unsolved Mystery friends and even people who've never watched Unsolved Mysteries to watch it, because it was fantastic. And thank you for, I'm only 28, but thank you for 35 years of amazing television.
Oh, thank you so much for your interest. We are so proud of the show and so excited to be selling. I can't believe 35 years, but very excited to be celebrating this anniversary.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. Unsolved Mysteries forever.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. And good luck with all of your next projects and all of that. And I hope that you have a great rest of your day.
Okay, thanks so much. Take care.